Hello everyone. I'll start with a short video and then I'll continue my talk. So what you just saw here is the first battery cell manufacturing facility in India, and this is happening here in Bangalore, not somewhere in China, not somewhere in the US. All this is a state-of-the-art facility that Log9 has established for the first time in the entire India and Southeast Asia. When I started in 2015, I would never imagine that we'll set this up today over here, we'll become the most pioneering and the leading battery technology company in the country. We started with a very simple thought that technology development is something which is not known as a forte of our country. We've always been technology adopters, and I want to create a company which can pioneer in material science and nanotechnology and create solutions with that. So that's the thought I started Log9 with in 2015 as I graduated from IIT Roorkee and did my undergrad in material science. And as we went on this journey, it was a journey of a lot of trials and failures and a lot of learnings on the way, because there's a lot of things which we're doing for the first time. We're the first company to be ever officially supported by the campus. We were the first to be incubated at IIT Roorkee in that sense. We're the first company to venture out in the battery space in terms of creating technologies ground up, right from the cell level, taking them to a battery pack level and then beyond. We're the first company to have reached a level where we have a portfolio of more than 120 patents. I think that's the highest number of patents in the portfolio for any startup in the country today. And as we've gone through these many firsts, what you've realized is that when you are charting on uncharted territory, right, everything takes time. You need to figure out, and you fail. You think that some things will work, but they don't end up the same way. And 2 years later, after starting Log9, when we moved the company here to Bangalore, that was in 2017, we tried to look at what can we do with our material science competency or nanotechnology competency, and started to look at environmental applications. And we explored a bunch of different things, from water filtration, air filtration, to oil spill containment, and then energy storage as well. And we said that, okay, what is the place where we can create the largest impact? And I think one of the earlier speakers in today's session, he very clearly pointed out, I think it was Balki itself who pointed out that almost 2/3 of our emissions, of our carbon emissions, are directly or indirectly attributable to our energy demand. Whether energy is for direct consumption, or it goes through our industries, or it goes through our vehicles and planes and all the kind of different transportation that we use. So we realized that if we create the largest impact in the world, we have to really focus on energy storage, because it's only with energy storage that we can clean up our transportation, and it's only with energy storage we can really expand the horizon of renewables onto a grid and expand the overall use of renewable energy for our electricity need as well as for transportation need. So as we did that, we started to kind of go on a path where we are today very soon be realizing $100 million of revenue building these battery technologies in the country. We already electrified more than 5,000 last mile mobility vehicles in the country with our batteries. And as we go on that journey, this is the kind of climate impact that we are trying to create. With more than 50 million tons of CO2 being saved with our battery solutions and what they enable in transportation and energy storage, and then an indirect saving of 85 million tons of CO2 emissions by 2030. So as we're trying to create this impact, one key thing that I realized is that while these numbers might seem really, really huge, right? But even these numbers don't even touch 1% of the total carbon emissions that we'll see in India by 2030. And it's a very small percentage. So this is what our company can do, and while it is a great feat and I'm very proud of it, but it's too small to really solve for climate change. And that's when I realized that if we are trying to create a large climate impact, we cannot do it alone. And we have to make sure that it extends beyond one organization and one individual. Also, one of the other learnings that we had was that when you're trying to do things for the first time in a country, you cannot really draw parallels. And because you cannot really draw parallels, it takes 10 times longer to be able to achieve the same result. Because you don't understand how the markets work, what kind of capital pools we have, what are the real requirements, and what kind of solutions work. So all of this is something which can only accrue based on trial and error. So what happened was that as we were going through this journey, in 2018, I took one particular individual call, and then in 2021, I took another very individual climate positive call. So in 2018, I decided that I will stop having any non-vegetarian food in my life. And that was a call driven by climate. Because not many people realize that non-veg can really have a lot of higher carbon emissions as compared to a vegan diet or a vegetarian diet. So that created another larger impact in terms of my choices, that how we can kind of save the climate. Then in 2021, the other personal call that I took was that all the personal savings that I'm able to accrue in my life will all be invested in climate tech startups. And that's why I decided that I will not own any houses, I will not own any stocks, I will not own any cars, and all the savings should go towards creating and expanding the impact beyond what Log9 can do for this world. So when we talk about beyond energy, where the emissions come from, and many speakers have spoken about it, and it spreads across sectors. So how can we take our learnings from Log9 and how can we enable startups and other climate tech solutions coming up in the country to really, really solve for all these other sources of carbon emissions in the world? And that's where the idea of Climate Niners came about. So what we said was, let's aggregate all that we have learned in this journey of last 8 years at Log9, and let's start investing in climate tech startups and help them grow, give them the seed capital, help them nurture, provide them those insights as to what to do, what to avoid, and what not to do, so that they can solve for climate faster. You cannot deny the fact that 2/3 of the world population lives in the global south. And what works for the global south are not the solutions which have been developed in US, Europe, China, and these markets. All these solutions either need to be customized or we need to relook at these solutions over here in India. And that's the reason we are trying to support many solutions beyond Log9's battery technologies to be able to create that impact. So just to give you a glimpse of that, we first invested in this company called Metastable Materials, where we really identified this technology in one of the labs in IIT Roorkee. We spoke to the creator of this technology, asked him to leave his job, gave him the first check of 1 crore rupees, which was consolidated between the founders of Log9 and our friends, and we made them come out of the lab and start Metastable Materials. And this company today is pioneering lithium-ion cell recycling in the country, and which is 50 times more efficient in terms of the capex and 40 times more efficient in the operating cost. Similarly, we worked with Loopworm. Loopworm is a company that creates alternative animal feed protein by growing insects on food waste. So a clear epitome of circular economy, where you can take food waste, convert it into insects, and use those insects to create protein for animal feed again. So improving the whole carbon emission impact of the food industry itself, and then many more. So we are continuing on this journey, and as we started this in 2021, there were a lot of interest from other leaders at Log9, our earlier investors, and our friends and family in the network. So we have been able to put together this pool of $3 million, which is a very small pool of capital in that regard. But what it does is we are able to identify people who are trying to create these climate solutions very specific to the tropical world requirements in the labs of India, the innovation happening locally, and we are able to take them and grow them and support them so that they can create solutions for the larger climate impact. Thank you very much.